to Jake Jackets. Gear up to fire the cannon and hit the ice with your host, Jay Ashdown and Jake Gehringer.
Trying to thrive, right?
Yeah. So you struggling a little bit, Dave?
I am struggling a little bit. This is gonna be a tough show for me. I'm fighting allergies really, really bad. Like, this happens to me a couple times a year because we're in Ohio and weather just never cooperates. And my allergies get so bad to where, like, my throat gets really itchy and gross and my sinuses are just completely destroyed.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I'm going to fight through this one and we're going to have some fun because we actually have a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
Go ahead. So, funny little story just before we get into our playoff cappies and stuff. You may have noticed the last show, we didn't have any network branding.
Yes.
And Dylan actually gave me the okay to tell this story a little bit. So I'm going to tell it. We parted ways with a media company that we had been working with as a network, and Kyle and Dylan were working their asses off to essentially, figure things out, short-term pain for long-term game, right?
Yeah.
But we're sticking with the THPN brand is going to stick around. The network is back as the Hockey Podcast Network, and DraftKings is back. So we got
God.
our fellas back.
Yes. I would have been very upset if we didn't get them back because they are it's nice when you have a sponsor that like you actually use
And enjoy.
and enjoy. So, it's easy to actually do these without, faking it when you actually enjoy the product.
I know. It's yeah, and again, excuse me if there's like a lot of muting and coughing and like ew coming from
No,
your right side of the screen, but like
no, that's fair. I've had those days too.
ugh. But yeah, Dylan and Kyle, we got to thank our bosses, our management. Kyle obviously does recruitment. Dylan just kind of takes care of everything. But they were both really, really on it. And it was lucky enough for us, we only had one episode in between, like trying to figure out where we were going with this. But obviously, we never left the network. If you caught me on our buddy Jimmy's bottom line stream, he's actually doing another one for game 5 for the Eastern final, and it was fun hanging out on the bottom line. Our buddy Richard Blosser just started releasing his Game Over series, and we were fortunately and unfortunately the first episode out. So I got to hang out with Richard a couple of weeks ago and talk off-season stuff about what happened, about what to look forward to. And at the time, we'll get into this later, but at the time, we still didn't know where we were going with the draft and general manager and stuff, and now we do.
Yeah. I mean, things are heating up in the front office, aren't they?
Well, they're getting real spicy, and it'll be a lot of fun to talk about this.
Yeah. But you know what else is heating up, Jake?
The Stanley Cup playoffs?
Stanley Cup playoffs. We are this close to crowning the Stanley Cup champion.
It's
The action heating up on the ice. It's even hotter at DraftKings.
You're damn right it is.
Sports betting partner of the National Hockey League. New to DraftKings? Listen up, everybody. New customers can get a no sweat bet up to $1,500. $1,500, Jake. What did your eyes do when you saw that number?
I bugged out. I was just I could
thing.
definitely
I had
use
to
that.
reread it because I was like, that's not what it used to be. My eyes went like they did the Awuga thing where they
from the old cartoons.
Exactly. Just deposit at least $5 and you'll get a bonus bet back equal to your first bet if it doesn't hit.
There you go. You get your money back.
always good to get your money back. And, you get to, maybe try something a little spicy with your first bet if you'd like, Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That is code THPN for new customers to get a no sweat bet up to $1,500 if your first bet doesn't hit. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. One no sweat bet per new customer. Issued as one bonus bet based on amount of initial losing bet. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.co/ice for eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions, term, and responsible gambling resources. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved. The Crown.
Bravo, my good man. Bravo. He actually, we talked about this. I wanted him to do it because I didn't know how my voice was going to hold up for the ad read.
Yeah.
Did a good job, dude.
Thank you. Glad to know that I can confirm to everybody I am literate.
Right.
Big day for me.
Well, because usually I try to do the auctioneer speed like most ad reads do.
Yeah.
With the call to action disclaimer part.
Yeah.
But like you taking your time with that and getting people to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Kind of helps too. I don't know, like certain people do it certain ways.
Yeah, that's a good thing about ad reads is you do get a little bit of freedom in how you like to do it.
Indeed. And we get freedom of Kepis choice as well.
Yeah. This is a tough one. It's interesting, like earlier in the playoffs, I said the first round kind of sucked.
It
didn't
did.
it?
It was very run of the mill, kind of boring.
And my theory was, much like in Survivor, sometimes it's just about cutting the fat.
Which you just
If
finished.
something isn't very, yes. Sometimes and I'm going to compare it to this past season. The first 4 to 5 episodes of this past season sucked. It was not good. But why? Because they're trimming the character fat, and then the rest of the season was unbelievable because it was nothing but fun, entertaining players. And I feel like that's kind of how these playoffs have been, where that first round sucked, but the rest has been phenomenal. And here we are sitting in the semifinals with both series at 2-2. So there's a lot of different ways you can go with your Kepi.
And if you want me to go first,
I would like you to go first. I'm curious to see where you take this.
I'm not doing a Stanley Cup Kepi.
You're gonna do Don Waddell or some shit like that.
Congratulations to, because I know we haven't talked about this much.
Mm-hmm. Or
PWHL Minnesota, first Walter Cup champions.
Yeah.
I know we don't talk about the women's league as much as we should.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because now that we have the PWHL, there are streaming games on YouTube. They're all accessible. We can actually watch it now.
Can I tell you why I'm thrilled they won? Because if they had lost after what happened in Game 4, that's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a brutal way to lose.
Kendall Coyne Schofield, first captain to lift that Walter Cup.
Yeah. An absolute legend.
There are so many fantastic players just throughout. Like I know it's only a 6-team league, like 7 team league.
It feels like the season kind of blew by, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Because they started what, in January?
Feels like it, yeah.
But like we know there are so many fantastic women's players on all of these rosters. Whether that's Schofield, whether that's Sarah Nurse, whether that's
Well, you think about it for a second. I mean,
MPP or Enrene Debian, like
we talked about this when the merger originally happened. Like it's it's weird to say. There's almost too much talent. Like there's
right.
not enough teams for how much talent there is.
Exactly.
So, like we're getting some teams that are pretty damn loaded, which makes it fun because right off the rip you get a pretty good amount of parity, I would say. So
And
it's
you
gonna
get
be
a great
interesting to see
product.
as the product continues to get more viewership, more revenues. That equals expansion, and with more expansion teams, that's more jobs. That's more
Right.
and I'm gonna be interested to see like how this all develops because all I'll say is fun first season, but kudos for the fact that there's a good foundation here. I really believe this time it's
Mm-hmm.
going to work.
What's nice is that they started, and we talked about this when the merger first happened. They started well right off the bat with their with the way their CBA is structured, with the way their rules are structured, and how the season goes, how the tournament runs.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out a way for it to actually make sense and work. Plus, they also figured out the media side of things very well
Yeah.
right away
Yeah.
to make it accessible for people to actually watch for, whether that's a small subscription fee or just, stream it on YouTube for free. It's right there, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they hit it out of the park with the first year and just how the league runs.
Mm-hmm.
And again, congrats to the mini women
Yeah.
for taking the first chip.
State of hockey for a reason, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. Didn't University of Minnesota win one too?
No. Minnesota Duluth won a couple.
No, I'm
Uh,
trying to think because like
who is it? Was it?
they might have won something
I'm trying to think.
recently, like a women's tournament or something.
Oh, you might be because women's have been. I think the last like few years have been dominated specifically in women's by Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Ohio State are like
Right.
the in women's hockey right now for
For
college.
college, right.
Um, but yeah, men's hockey for Minnesota, they've been good, but I don't think they've had success in the tournament.
Right.
Um. Anyway, I think that was a good, honorary Kepi to give out. Did you want to give one out to a player, or were we just sticking with that?
Um Oh gosh. I did have somebody in mind actually, a little bit. Um and it's not the guy you're expecting because I know part of me didn't want to pick another Ranger because I know we've been picking Rangers left, right, and center
Yeah,
because they've been great. But Barclay Goodrow, dude,
dude, he's been on fire.
he's unbelievable.
I mean, it's almost like this guy's a playoff player.
Huh. I
Even
want
even going back to his days with the Sharks. Yeah, he was the one who scored the winner against Vegas,
what's
and
he
that
got like 7 goals and like what
I think he's got 8.
I think he's got like 8 goals, 5 assists or something. He's got like 15 points.
Baller.
And
Baller.
it's funny because we made fun of his big contract for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I mean, because it was like almost a smaller version, like a half size version of what Philly did with Kevin Hayes, where they're like, we're gonna draft pick to get this player, so we can sign them to sign them to a contract ahead of free agency.
Right.
And the player, realizing they have all the leverage, is going to take us to the bank on a contract. That's
Right.
what Kevin Hayes did with Philadelphia. Barkley Goodrow basically did that with the Rangers, but you can't say it's definitively been a bad signing simply because it hasn't truly restricted them from doing a lot of the things that they've wanted to do in terms of putting roster construction together, and he's playing well when it matters most.
And this is why, like, I get that it usually looks bad during the regular season to pay a player that much money when he's typically like a fourth line guy.
Yeah. But as we know, the playoffs is where you win. That's where it all matters. That's where the game is truly played.
And I mean, like, it's all paid out by the time the regular season is done anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like, so he earned what he makes during the regular season during this playoff run. And as they keep climbing this, I mean, like, there's nothing stopping these guys right now.
I can think of one thing.
Tim Bennett.
No. I just they haven't looked that good this series.
Well, it's
Speaking
like you
only
said.
strictly about this series, because the first two series they're phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah.
There is not an aspect of the sport outside of goaltending where they are beating the Panthers right now.
That's fair. Unless you want to count injuring guys. Mark Messier, winner.
Well, you just don't get leadership. Like right now, and this is why Barkley Goodrow is a good shout by you. Speaking specifically just about this series, the top six isn't doing enough. They've had to really rely on other guys to step up and get the job done.
Laffy's been getting it done.
Laffy's looked good. He's looked really good. Credit to him. Wenberg's, got a big goal. Barkley Goodrow's playing well.
They just got Blake Wheeler back for the first time since February in Game 4.
I don't know how much of a difference maker Blake Wheeler is going to be either, to be completely honest with you. I actually think he's kind of the last thing that they need right now in a series against the Florida Panthers.
I mean, well,
I just think he's really slow, and he doesn't play defense, and he's not the offensive juggernaut he used to be.
no.
So I don't know. I would rather have someone out there who can be a little bit more effective.
Like a Barkley Goodrow.
Barkley Goodrow, Matt Rempe.
Okay, go ahead. I've been running on this on my side for too long. Go ahead.
It's a tough one. It's a lot of different ways I was thinking about going with this, but I go Sam Reinhart. I think Sam Reinhart's played really, really well this.
Yeah, you like Rhino?
I love Rhino. I've big fan of that guy for quite some time. Yeah, I mean, I'd say he's probably been the most noticeable player this series. He's always popping off the screen. He's had a couple really, really good games. OT winner the other night, absolute snipe. I mean, just a phenomenal player, and he is going to get so much money.
This
run
that he's on right now is just like, it's the stonks meme, right? Just climbing that price right up. Now, here's the funny thing, right? Barkov is the highest paid forward on that Florida team, right? And he's making like 9.5.
Yeah.
So, knowing what Sam is doing right now,
yes,
if he wants to stay, I don't know. If I'm Bill Zito, I don't know if you try to negotiate him to try to take a discount.
Here's the
stay
reason
under Barkov.
Here's the reason that you do. There is not an easier place to get a player to take a discount than in a place that has no state tax.
Right.
So it's like, hey man, if you want to go make 11 somewhere else is the same as 9.5 here.
Right.
Who cares about the cap hit? Or like at the end of the day, it's all that we care about the cap hit, but you don't. All that matters is the amount of money that's going into your pocket. So let me get this straight, okay? At the very least, the Panthers are in the Eastern Conference Final and have won 2 out of those games, which means they have 10 playoff wins this go round.
Yes.
Okay. Last year they're in the final. Also, you are playing the best hockey of your career on this team with this coach.
Mhm.
Also, no state income tax. Also, beautiful weather year round.
I mean, Kat will tell me that every day, even though she hates it.
I would tell you, man, you gotta stay if you're Sam Reinhart, right? If
I
they can
mean,
make it
yeah,
work,
I mean, and
gotta
you're playing with Sasha Barkov, who is one of the best two-way forwards in the game. You're playing with Matt Tkachuk, who is just
Matt
an
Tkachuk,
all-around unicorn.
Carter Verhaeghe.
Carter Verhaeghe, we don't talk about him enough, and I
No,
feel like we
because
talk about him almost every show.
there's that's the thing that the Panthers are just loaded with underrated talents
Mhm.
from Sam Reinhart to Carter Verhaeghe,
To Anton Lundell,
Anton
who's probably going to
Lundell,
get a raise.
to Sam Bennett. Like the whole lineup
That
is
forward
just,
core is just
and
massively
we're only
talented.
talking about forwards. You want to talk about underrated? Gus Forsling.
God, that
Oh
dude
my God.
deserves that contract.
No, I disagree. He
I think he
deserves
deserves more money, but
so
like the
much more
term,
than what he's getting on that contract. Oh my God.
it's such a bargain.
Bill,
I love it.
Bill, wizard, absolute wizard.
I know we're going to talk about our new guy later, but just imagine Bill with this new regime
Don't get me
that's
wrong. I'm
coming.
happy with the guy that we got, but dude, I would have done the nastiest things imaginable to have gotten Bill Zito back as
He's getting another nomination for GM of the year. Like,
yeah, and he deserves it. What a job he's done. It is crazy. Like you look at like just a couple years ago when Tampa won back-to-back Stanley Cups.
mhm.
So their trophy cabinet, they're up to 3 Stanley Cups. They had a bit of a dynasty going. So much success, and it's just like Bill Zito has to compete with that team in
Right.
that state to try and bring the Panthers back to relevance. And
Mm.
look at where they are right now. Obviously, they're going to need to add some trophies to the hardware, but you know, dude, what a job he's done.
Yeah. Um, Goodrow and Rhino. I like those picks.
We just have a thing for Goodrows.
We do. And I don't know. I think we're going from Civil War era into our Mafia era in Columbus because the dawn has arrived. We've been waiting on this news for. Don't you laugh at me. That was good.
You believe this guy, Tone?
You heard what this wise guy just said?
You come to me. This, the day of the draft.
To the
Ask me
dawn.
for a favor. Oh, dude, I gotta tell you, like, speaking of eyes popping out of your head and going awooga, that's literally what I did when I saw that Don Waddell took a fucking interview with us and then resigned the next day.
So can we wait a minute? So
That
this
was the
is like a whole
wildest timeline ever because it was like the worst kept secret before it was announced. Like,
and there were a lot of worst kept secrets that we're gonna get into this show.
yeah.
But this one is crazy because like obviously we talked about in other shows that we kind of know the coaching carousel a
Hmm.
little better in terms of candidates that are out there than GMs, right?
Yeah.
We had obviously we talked about Mark Bergevin last show, and obvious reasons didn't want him. We wanted a guy like Matthew Darsh.
Hmm.
There were rumblings that they were probably going to talk to Jeff Gorton, even though why would he want to leave Montreal with what he's doing under Montreal?
Right.
We and the other name that we had, kind of flopped around was Eric Tulsky in Carolina.
And then they were just like, what if we got the actual GM?
Well, yeah. So the crazy part was like Breach and LeBron and a couple other reporters were like, so I'm hearing that like Don Waddell is interviewing in Columbus, and I'm like, are we getting trolled right now?
Unbelievable.
I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. This Don Waddell being hired is the same kind of like shocked Pikachu like elation that I felt
When we got Johnny.
when we got Johnny.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far in, to be honest with you, but I mean, shit, I'm thrilled about it. I can't
It's
lie.
a very like similar case though.
It's similar in the sense that it felt like it really came out of nowhere.
Exactly. So the whole gist of the story is, Waddell interviews with Columbus, and the next day he resigned
Mm-hmm.
from his position as strictly the general manager of the Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
They promote Eric Tulsky, who again was a candidate that we were originally considering. And within, like, it just kept happening and happening and happening. They were finalizing deals. They were putting pen to paper. He just had his introductory press conference yesterday. Don Waddell, president of hockey operations, general manager, alternate governor.
Yes.
He is basically becoming our version of what Kyle Dubas is in Pittsburgh.
Yes, essentially. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm completely comfortable with this. The one thing that I discussed with Alex, and then I relayed this to you, Alex C, my good friend.
Our buddy Chauvin
when,
C. Yep, we need to bring him back on the show at some point.
when we were initially linked to Waddell, when that first interview happened, and then shortly after he resigned, my first and initial thought was, okay, so the reason we didn't fire John Davidson after all of that was because, uh, like I said to you, like it kind of dawned on me. Oh, he's not keeping that position.
It
He's
dawned
hiring.
on you.
I didn't even think about that. I damn it. I wish I had. Yeah, I could have sold it a little bit more. Yeah, it dawned on me. It dawned on me that that JD wasn't actually going to be keeping that position, and that instead he was going to be picking his replacement, which now I feel much more comfortable. I got to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure, no matter who it was, if I'd have felt comfortable with a new GM if John Davidson were over them, and that's not going to be the case here.
So let's put all the cards on the table.
Mhm.
Waddell is going to have this Dubas level of power where he's got all three of these titles.
Right? And remember, Dubas had the opportunity, and I'm sure Waddell's going to have the opportunity here as well, where when he was hired to Pittsburgh and given these titles, they gave him a time period, I want to say a little bit over a month before the draft, to figure out if he wanted to hire a GM, if he wanted to hire this person, that person, et cetera, build a staff, whatever.
I mean, he brought in Spezza and he did all these things to bring in his guys, but
yeah, he brought in his guys, which Dubas loves to do, and he decided, I'm going to be GM. I imagine that's going to happen here for Don Waddell. If he wants to bring Eric Tulsky, and if he can manage bringing Eric Tulsky here to be the general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets,
or Darsh, if he wants.
I can't imagine Matthew Darsh is going to be leaving Tampa now. Like to me, in my mind, it's either Don Waddell is going to be the general manager or Eric Tulsky is going to come in. But really, I think it's like 98, 99% chance that Don Waddell is just going to be like,
just going to keep it all. So the nice
dude, I got all the power. Why?
The nice thing though about this move is, so JD's not gone, but he's stepping way back.
Yeah, he's
going to continue to be an alternate governor, and he's more of a supervisor.
Which I think honestly makes a little bit more sense because it feels like JD's been a little bit less hockey operations oriented
Yeah.
these past few years. And if that's the case, then whatever. As long as he's not making any massive on ice decisions, which obviously he's not going to be because Don's going to be stepping in place for all the power there. I'm fine with it. I can live with it. Can I read to you something though?
Go for it.
One thing I love to do anytime, a certain hire is made, specifically with GMs, you like to look back at their immediate impact. Okay.
Right.
And I want to read to you when he went to Carolina, his first few trades.
Yes, and I actually have something from our buddy Jeff that ties into that.
His first trade, not a star, but he traded Marcus Kruger and a third for Jordan Martinook.
Getting Jordan was actually really big.
And that was in 2018. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's 6 years ago.
And
Uh,
look at what Marty's been doing
his
in Carolina ever
second
since.
trade. His second trade was Noah Hannafin and Elias Lindholm for
Yo.
Garland, Dougie Hamilton, and Adam Fox.
Whoo! That was his second
Obviously-
trade, guys.
Obviously, Adam Fox didn't work out because he ended up going to the Rangers, but Dougie Hamilton was a massive, massive piece for the Carolina
Mhm.
Hurricanes for quite some time before he ended up going to the New Jersey Devils. The third trade is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Jeff Skinner trade.
You're right.
The Jeff Skinner trade, he got a second, a third, and a sixth, along with Cliff Poo. Cliff Poo didn't turn into anything. I guess you could say he was. I'm not gonna do the joke.
I mean, he turned
I'm not
into
The first pick that he got was 36th overall. Do you know who he drafted with it?
oh gosh, 36th. That's got to be either Jarvis or Aho, right?
No, Aho is already. I think Aho was 2016 or 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait a minute. Was that Svetch?
Nope,
No?
this was second overall, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Gosh, 36th. That has to have been like, no, because Jarvis was in the Marlowe deal.
Yeah, he was 13th.
Oh no. Tell me.
Pyotr Kochetkov.
Yo!
Yeah. His third trade, his fourth trade.
Mm-hmm. Just give me the
All
top
right.
5.
He traded Blue Jackets legend Victor Rask
Yep.
for Nino Niederreiter.
Oh, what a great move that was. I know Victor had like a good year
Mm-hmm.
with Kirill Kaprizov, because who wouldn't? But you take that all day.
Then came the deal of Adam Fox, where they realized they couldn't sign him. He ended
Right.
up getting the 37th and 41st pick, drafted Mads Sogard and Noel Gunler.
Matt Sogard was a Carolina draft pick? I didn't know that.
I think they ended up trading that pick later.
Right, because
Yes,
that I
They
feel
traded 37th to the Ottawa Senators, and they got 44 and 83. That was Jameson Rees and Antoni Honka.
like all right.
I saw that one.
Meh. Saw off. So to just give y'all, context into Don Waddell's career as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
because this is what we need to expect.
Yeah.
Don Waddell started, he's been an executive for over 20 years
Mhm.
in the NHL. And his first foray into it, at least as a general manager, was with the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Atlanta Thrashers no longer really exist.
They do in our hearts.
That's not Don's fault.
No, this is his fault. He was very, very much limited by ownership too. It's funny, like he was kind of limited, I think, in both jobs in terms of ownership,
Yes.
because financially with the Hurricanes, not always 100% willing to spend the money.
Carmanos.
But, they had gotten better, which I think is kind of the situation with the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets, I think, especially with what they're doing here with getting Waddell and paying him more than the Hurricanes, I think the Blue Jackets are sending a message. Zach Werenski, Patrick Laine, Johnny Gaudreau, Don Waddell. We're willing to spend the money.
Right.
It's a good message to send. Not all of those have worked out the way we wanted them to, but we're spending the money. Okay?
Yes.
It's a good thing. So it's good that he's not going to be capped financially, but which he was a little bit with the Hurricanes, and I imagine quite a bit with the Thrashers.
Of course. I mean, specifically with the Thrashers, of course, yes. He was dealing with weird contracts, signing like a very, very old Chris Chelios. And, the Hossa deal didn't work out at all.
No.
Obviously, this is like before our time as fans, really. Like you were just starting out.
Yeah.
Kari Lehtinen didn't work out, unfortunately, as much as I really liked Kari Lehtinen as a player.
It's tough for those, again, if you think about goalies that are drafted that high. I mean, it's tough.
Andrew Ladd turned into something with the Jets introduction.
No, he didn't make that trade.
No?
He wasn't. No, he had already been gone at that point because it was dealt after the Hawks title.
But this is the pattern, right?
Yeah. Regardless of the pattern.
Yeah.
Doesn't change.
He goes to the Hurricanes around 2013-14 or so, I believe.
Yes, you're correct in when he went to the Hurricanes, but his taking over as GM and making those moves, having full control, was in 2018.
Correct. That's what, I was getting confused with when he started with the Hurricanes and then when his actual reign as GM began. And this is going to tie into Svo's tweet. It's hard to overstate Don Waddell's impact in Carolina over the past few years. Some of the Canes' accomplishments here. 6 straight playoff appearances.
Yep. That would be the best in Blue Jackets history.
3 straight 50-win seasons, guys.
Blue Jackets have done that once.
Hurricanes did it 3 times in a row under this guy.
3
division titles in the last 4 years.
The
only reason why they didn't get it this year is because New York was on a fucking tear.
Yeah.
3rd in NHL in wins in his tenure as the general manager of the Hurricanes.
I imagine the only teams ahead of him probably would be Tampa and who else?
Tampa and Vegas, maybe.
Oh, you might be right. Yeah.
Vegas, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Don Waddell has done a phenomenal job building these Hurricanes over the last, half a decade. Credit some of that to Ron Francis.
Maybe the Bruins, but anyway.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, also going back to coaching staffs. God, I think Rod Brindamore kind of worked out a little bit, huh?
Do we want to? Okay. We'll get to that in just like a slight second. But yes, Rod Brindamore is going to stay.
No, I wasn't really going to get into it. I was just mentioning, I feel like we can trust this guy to pick a coach.
Oh, yeah. Now, for us, whether that means letting Pazzi stay and go through a full training camp, or going out and getting, like a Dean Evison, Don and Dean, please. Please.
It's too perfect.
I know it's too perfect, but please.
Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah, we can trust this guy to pick a coach. And where was I going with? Oh my gosh. I just think he's good with young talent. And I know he wants to make big moves to start. He will be at the draft table. He'll be allowed to make moves at the draft table. Which, weirdly enough, for reasons over the last draft or two, he was at the table but didn't necessarily get to make moves, and it was a weird thing going on with that. I heard rumors about that somewhere.
Yeah, I want to go through some of his big moves with you, if that's okay. Because, okay. So obviously, the first I mentioned was the Adam Fox / Dougie Hamilton one.
Mm-hmm.
Nino Niederreiter, the Jeff Skinner move. The first one I want to go over real quick. Eric Halla, Lucas Wallstrom, Chase Prisky, and Eetu Luostarinen for Vinny Trocheck.
Vinny was so good for them.
He was so good for Carolina. So good.
And now look at him against Carolina and now against another former team of his in the Panthers.
Speaking of the Rangers, 22nd overall, that became Hendrix Lapierre because that was a trade for the Rangers with Washington.
Mm-hmm.
They got Brady Shea.
Right.
That one definitely worked out, in my opinion.
And we'll see if Tulski can keep Shea.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one for this offseason. You know, it's funny is he's also the GM that traded away Jake Bean.
Right, and now he gets reunited with Jake Bean. I wonder what
see how that goes for Jake.
I wonder what that first meeting is like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one, isn't it? Traded away Warren Fogle for Ethan Bear. I know that's not like a massive trade. It's an interesting one.
Kind of a wash on both ends until Fogle started picking it up in Edmonton.
He made the deal with us, traded Aiden Rizchuk, got Max Domi as a deadline acquisition.
Oh, that's right.
Domi was actually pretty good as a Kane.
Domi was good here. Domi was fine as a Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Domi was fun as a Hawk and a Star.
There's only one thing I would like to say to Don Waddell as we wrap this up.
Yeah.
First of all, welcome.
Of course.
Big fan. Excited
the
to
Don.
have you. The Don. I feel.
Did you
so
see Tyre's
happy.
tweet?
Yes.
Do we want to go with the Waddfather?
Yeah. Dude, he's a gem. I love him.
We love Dylan Tyre. He's such a good dude.
And I love Don Waddell. I am so excited. I feel like a weight has been lifted off of my shoulders and my chest now that
like a Doug weight?
Yeah. With that being said, if you even fucking think about bringing Tony D'Angelo.
Right.
That's my only thing.
Tony for goody.
Fucking think about it.
Tony for goody.
Oh, no. God, no. Not Tony for goody.
No, I don't want him touched with a 10-foot pole.
We already saw Provorov and D'Angelo at the Flyers. Right. We don't need to see it here.
Provorov and D'Angelo here. Right.
Ugh. Oh, my God.
So the big thing is, from what I've gathered from quotes from his intro press conference, he's going to want to make big changes. He says that there are at least half a dozen guys that could be moved over this summer.
We don't need to get into this right now, but I think that's going to include 29.
It very well could. It's going to be interesting. We went over RFAs that we have in a recent episode. It's going to be interesting to see what a guy like Kirill is going to make on a raise.
But given the history of Don Waddell, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he tried to just say, fuck it, let's go 8. Let's go 8 years.
Right.
Let's try and get this thing done long term and let's get that number down.
Right. That happened a lot in Carolina with the younger players that they just wanted to. They knew that they were a part of that core and they want them to stick around.
Exactly.
So yeah, the dawn of a new era is here.
My favorite weekend album, The Dawn. Dawn FM.
God, I was just listening to that like last month.
It's not actually my favorite album, but I had to say it just to,
It is my favorite album though. I will say that
that's fair. It's in
because
my
it's such a good piece
it
of
really
work.
is. So,
Which by the way, Keep Me Fed is out in just under a month.
can we make that the title? Dawn FM.
I don't want to do that. Just like I don't know, because we
Can we
already
put it
did
in the
Dawn.
description?
We already did Dawn FM, like just when we were talking about it like a year
That makes
ago.
it even better. The fact that we've already had the actual name and now we get to do this,
You got
that
a
makes it
point.
better. That's context.
You got a point. So other worst kept league-wide secrets
Mhm.
that have happened over, the last couple of weeks, right? Going back to our buddies in Jersey, Sheldon Keefe joining the Devils as head coach.
Dude, that was the worst kept secret in a while.
Oh yeah.
God,
Brindy's extension, like we mentioned earlier, like we knew that was just eventually gonna get done somehow,
yes.
but it was still kind of fun to speculate on like, oh,
It
if it
was still
goes.
fun to speculate because it's like, surely this is going to get done. But what if they get swept?
Yeah. Um, Another really fun one, BGSU legend Dan Bilesma is back in the NHL.
I tell you the most surprising thing about that bit of news, and I don't mean surprising. Like it registered in my head, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But still hearing it made me go like, oh Jesus, really? It's so weird. Like this dude won a Stanley Cup 15 years ago with the
Mhm.
Penguins, and he's only 53.
Yeah, you got a point because like I
Like, you know
know.
what I mean? Like it makes sense because he was a young coach, but just you hear Dan Bilesma, that doesn't sound like he should be 53. It sounds like he should be lower 60s.
Like I know, we talk about that a lot with Paul Maurice, right? Because he'd been coaching since he was like
Dude, he's been
22.
around forever. Oh my God. How is he not like 74?
Right. Well, Rick Bonus recently retired and he's what, like 70?
Yeah. Hell of a career for Rick Bonus.
Oh yeah. Um Another one, I'm trying to think. Oh gosh, why am I losing? Oh yeah, Scott Arnell. Speaking of the Jets, taking over as their head coach.
Good luck.
Right.
Good luck, Jets fans. Godspeed.
And Berube, just waiting
Oh,
to
dude,
sign on the
that you
dotted
saved the
line.
best for last. That one was so obvious.
Well, like, are we missing any?
The
I feel like
season
I think
ended,
we're like
Sheldon Keefe got fired, and they didn't even look at another coach.
no.
Oh God, gotta give credit to the Leafs for just saying fuck it, man. Like, what do we care?
Well, because like, are we missing anybody at this point?
In
Because
terms of coaching?
in terms of coaching, because I know, like, now that that's gone down, like the Blues are keeping Bannister. Um, Obviously Evason's still out there. Woodcroft's still out there. Assistants need filled places.
Cooper's
Um,
gonna stay with Tampa. Sullivan staying in Pittsburgh. We already talked about Lindy to Buffalo. Travis
uh,
Reed talked about.
I don't think Dan Quinn ever. Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
God, can you believe the Sharks coach blew that Super Bowl to the Patriots?
David Quinn. I don't think he sees NHL ice again.
I don't know. And honestly, like I don't even say that necessarily as an insult. He was a
No,
good college coach. Just go back to doing that. Um, LA stuck with Hiller,
LA did stick with Hiller. Yes.
and I mean they are stuck with him. um,
We don't
I
know.
think we're set on coaching.
The only thing that we really don't know is our guy, if we're going to end up just keeping Pazzi or not.
I just
Unless there's another surprise move out there. Like obviously we're not even into June yet as far as we're concerned with recording this.
yeah. Yeah.
So there's plenty of time for changes to still be made.
Yeah. Look, Pascal Vincent seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Handsome. Handsome man.
Good
Looks
looking
great.
dude. Yeah.
Great for his age. Still can't believe how old he is.
How many times did you say that over the course of this last season? Like
Because that was his best attribute.
he was
Look,
what?
he
He's
was
only
brought
52?
into what?
He's only 52 and he
Believe
looked
so.
like he was Lars's age?
Yeah, believe so. He was brought into a shit situation, and at the end of the day, I'm not going to blame the guy for what happened this past season because turmoil off the ice.
Yes.
You had injuries up the wazoo.
Well, like it's not
So
like
much
the year
uncertainty and
prior where we had, you know, literally over half the roster gone.
yeah, it wasn't that level, but
But
like
when
I
you
said,
have long-term injury after long-term after long-term, like we did with the three in Boone and Patrick and Damon, and then we lose Adam for the whole rest of the year.
then we lost Zach at a point too. Like it's just I just think like but I brought it up on an earlier podcast. I remember this, like, it's not talked about enough, but
Mhm.
when you think about coaching for the Blue Jackets, one thing that's not discussed enough is just training methods. I mean, clearly there's something wrong in their approach these last 3 seasons since Torts left that they can't stay healthy.
Yeah,
Not only
when is it like
not look good, but clearly there's a disconnect in how they're training because they are consistently in the upper half of the National Hockey League in terms of injuries.
when is it a training and medical issue?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big issue. It comes down to like, do you need to upgrade the medical staff, the training staff? How you go about what things you're doing on the ice during practice. Obviously injuries, part of that is just luck, and they've had
Yeah.
shit the last 3 years, but
I mean,
I do.
Adams was the unluckiest of them all. Like, dude, getting your
Well,
half cut by a skate.
it double, double-edged sword there. Lucky that it wasn't worse.
Exactly.
Unlucky that it happened. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, like, I just nothing against Pazzi. I'm not going to look back on him negatively. I do wish him the best of luck wherever he goes, but I just don't see the value in running this back.
No.
Especially because if he gives you mixed results next season, let's say you go into this season and the Blue Jackets are a bit of a surprise. The product looks a little better. They're not dreadful to watch. Maybe injuries, you get a little bit more luck,
Kids
goaltending,
get better.
and you finish with 82 points.
Mm-hmm.
Very average season. Well, his contract's up. What do you do with that?
Right.
Like, you don't want to be stuck in limbo.
Exactly.
You're bringing in,
And Don has said, Don already knows that he wants to push for a winner. He wants to start now.
I know he's in his early 50s. He's been around for quite a bit, but he still might not be ready. Pascal Vincent, he still might not be ready to be an NHL head coach, and that's okay because he wasn't put in a position where he was supposed to be the head coach at the beginning of the season. I think I'd view it a little bit differently if he was their number one choice from day one, and he had
And
full.
for a while there, he was, which was the weird thing. Like we talked about that over the summer last year. And
But it felt like to be like
Richard and I talked about it on Game Over. It's this whole thing where it was just like a mess.
Yeah. So I wish him the best of luck, but I imagine that Don Waddell's going to see it the same way too. Do I want to roll the dice in my first season with this team after I make wholesale changes on a coach I don't know who has 1 year left on his deal coming off a bad season, or can I hit the reset button and go out and get my guy immediately?
Right.
Go ahead and get your guy.
Ideally, that guy is Dean Evison.
Ideally, yes.
um, but like that is the big thing. The biggest takeaway that I took from Don's comments at his intro press conference, he wants to start winning now.
Yeah. Hey, look, you don't want to like part of that, in my opinion, I think
Part of
is
that's lip service, I guess, but
a little bit. You want to please the fans a little bit. It's been a frustrating 4 or 5 years here. So fans don't want to hear we want to start winning in 3 years. You know what I
right.
mean? Obviously everybody wants to start winning now. The Sharks want to start winning now. It's not going to happen, but they would like
Congrats on Will Smith for the ELC, by the way. Jeez.
yeah. So, uh do I think they're going to win now, even if they have a good off season with this guy at GM who I trust? No, I don't think that's going to happen. But
But we
no,
should
but
hopefully see improvement that we
yeah,
wanted this year.
you're looking to make that step. It's a big step you got to make, and
We didn't even want that big of a step this past year.
we didn't. We just wanted a season that wasn't a shit show.
We just wanted like something to watch.
I'm literally sitting here like, man, a 77-point season next year sounds kind of lovely, doesn't it? The bar's not that high.
80.
I don't want to watch the Blue Jackets next year and be like, God, this team is dreadful, and the results are the same thing over and over and over.
It's so hard to watch, like, when you know what's gonna happen.
Yes, it was the same. That was the thing. God, could you imagine how fun it would have been to have been a Blue Jackets fan last year if every hockey game in the National Hockey League was just 2 20-minute periods or halves? If every game was 40 minutes, they would have been a bang average, maybe slightly above average team, and they would have been kind of fun to watch.
If it was 55 minutes, Jay, they would have been fine.
No, it was 40 minutes. I'll put it at that.
No,
But
55.
they were still one of the worst. They were still probably the worst team in the NHL in the last 5 minutes of games. But still, even the first 15 minutes of a third period, they weren't that good either. Like it's just, I don't know like how to feel about it because part of me is like, okay, if they can just fix that issue, then they're not going to be a terrible team. But at the same time, I'm like, it's a pretty big fucking issue you have to fix.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't get fixed overnight. And that I would say is part of why you need a new coach because you need a coach who can actually get that out of his players. And
Well, it's like what
I don't doubt that Pascal Vincent can get his players up and ready to play a hockey game and to have some good stretches, some good moments, but you certainly can't rely on a Pascal Vincent coach team to give you a third period. You just
no.
can't.
I feel like going from a guy like Vincent to a guy like Evison is very similar to what Steve, Adam, and Jesse talked about going from Keefe to Berube, where it's like, okay, guys, we're just gonna go out there, we're gonna do our best, we're gonna have fun, and we're gonna win the fucking cup.
Dean Evison will strike the fear into you, won't he?
Please, like, oh my god.
Here's the thing, like the reason I like Dean Evison so much is like he has that. I think a lot of I think as a coach you do need that. You know who else has that? Is Bruce Cassidy.
Bruce does have that.
But the difference between Bruce Cassidy and other coaches who have struggled to stick around, like say a Daryl Sutter, Mike Babcock, et cetera, is they have a switch and they know how to switch off. They're not an asshole 24/7.
Right.
Their players love playing for them. Those players in Minnesota loved Dean Evison.
Oh, totally.
Players in Boston loved Bruce Cassidy, and certainly in Vegas they love him too.
Yep.
Like you need a guy. I think that's great for our young players.
Calm when it matters.
Hard coach, but who has the switch.
Calm when it matters, right?
Yeah.
Like there's
sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's one thing Dean Evanson's good at.
I just want like a very creative, selfish part of me just wants those freeze frames of him like smirking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you remember the Hannibal Lecter face that I showed you?
Uh,
Oh man, he's one hell of a memeable face, that Dean Evason.
yes. Let me tell you, like, and some of these guys who are still here from the Torts era,
Yeah.
what's worse? The Torts going off on you or the Dean Evison side eye?
Oh, ooh. That side eye says a
Pretty
lot
brutal.
without actually saying anything. Now I will say, okay, last thing, assistant coaches. Just very, very quick. Um, please get rid of friggin' um oh my god, what's Mark Recchi? Why did that take me like half a second to remember his name?
I hate to be that guy. I warned everybody. It's
Mark
terrible.
Recchi gone.
Which I imagine if we go in this direction of a new coach, which I think we will, that
Recchi would be gone. Yeah.
that Don Waddell is going to work hand in hand with whoever he picks as coach to assemble a coaching staff. I am interested though, Jake. Third round of the playoffs. I am going to game 3 with my parents
There
for
you
the
go.
I'm curious, like as a part of this process, he said that one thing one thing that Don Waddell said that was interesting is he said that he wanted to really take his time with uh with Pascal Vincent, and part of me, like, I looked at that timeline. I think he said like what he said, like the next 25 to 30 days or something like that.
Yeah,
It's interesting how that kind of lines up with the Calder Cup playoffs, isn't it?
it is. Little Trent Vogelhuber action.
I'm just putting it out there. I mean, like, it's interesting to me.
I
It,
mean, we're going into a rematch with Richard's buddies and the Hershey Bears.
yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see where that goes. I mean, Trent is as respected in that Blue Jackets organization as
Oh
anybody.
yeah.
He's done such a great job these last few years as head coach, and I brought it up. Like, obviously, you're never going to regret the John Tortorella era,
No.
and certainly we don't have a Nathan McKinnon or a Mikko Rantanen or even a Gabe Landeskog walking through those doors, but man, Jared Bednar was in your organization and slipped through the cracks a little bit
Mm.
because of timing. So part of me wonders if this Blue Jackets organization is looking at that and they see Trent Vogelhuber and they're saying, you know what, man,
I don't want to miss that.
we don't
Right?
want that.
Well, because like
Again, you can't call it a mistake, but you don't want to make that mistake again. You know what I
right,
mean?
and part of me thinks that with Jared Bowl as well,
In terms of,
in terms of him like staying as an assistant coach.
I have no problem with him staying as an assistant coach. I have not seen or heard anything.
We all know how many players love Jared Bowl just
Yeah,
in that like just in that locker room, let alone as an organization. Guys that used to play with Jared,
yeah.
which I believe is truly really only Boone at this point. Maybe a couple other guys. Zach.
Yeah, no, you're probably right about that. No, I don't even think Zach played with him, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
But like, yeah, I the only one that I kind of want to keep on the assistants bench is Bowler,
Mhm.
if that
Well,
makes
it's
any
interesting,
sense.
like you look at the coaching staff with the Blue Jackets, not just the Blue Jackets, but the Monsters too. A lot of former players, a
Oh yeah.
lot of guys who love Columbus, who wanted to stay in Columbus after they retired, are doing things in the organization, which I think is a great way to grow things. I think it
Rick
speaks.
running player development.
I'm pretty sure Mark Letestu's an assistant with the Monsters, isn't
I
he?
believe he is.
I liked Mark as a player,
Loved Mark.
and I'm not 100% positive. I think he's running their power play.
Ooh, that's fun.
Oh, I mean, if this is the direction you go, maybe Mark Reckitt gets replaced by another Mark.
An uncle of test tubes. Quick conference final chat.
Yeah, we really didn't talk anything about these actual
Wow.
that are happening. They're 2-2.
Yeah, both series are 2-2. It's funny because like out west, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Like nobody has any idea what the hell's going on.
All these playoffs ballerina because they're 2-2.
This is that part of the show where we're like we try to make jokes and they never land.
I think it landed. That head drop was all I needed. I wasn't looking for a laugh. I was looking for like just anguish.
Like, god damn it.
Yeah. I'm firmly under the belief that the two best teams remaining
Yeah.
are probably Florida and Dallas. Doesn't
Man,
mean that
it's
I get. This is how I feel in terms of how they're playing, how they're constructed, et cetera, et cetera. I think the two best teams are Dallas and Florida.
yes.
On the other hand, the two best players in each series are Connor McDavid on one side, and obviously
Well,
Draisaitl,
duh.
duh. And on the other side, the best player in that series is Igor Shesterkin.
Yeah.
So it's like, the teams that I don't think are necessarily better in their respective series, they have the best player, and those players are making massive impacts.
Yes.
So it creates for a fun dynamic moving forward as we get into now what is a best of three series on both ends.
Jason Robertson scoring that Hattie. Oh.
Silky player.
What an amazing kid he is.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's just because we need more of that, where he said in his interview, the coaches were just telling him, shoot from anywhere, everywhere.
Yeah, seriously.
I know we talk about like, oh, this is the best highest danger chance. This is a low danger spot right here. Just shoot the damn puck. It's like fans scream it all the time for a reason.
It depends, it depends on what kind of player you are too. No offense if you're Jared Bull, don't shoot the puck.
Yeah.
But if like, yeah, obviously we
Poor
talk
Bowler,
about
man. Like we gave him some praise, and now he's taking some strays. Damn it.
But you know what I mean? Like Jason Robertson, like there are some players who don't like they kind of defy analytics in that sense. Yes,
Yes.
you want to get the best scoring opportunities possible. But there are some players who, a shot from 19 feet is different for this player than it is for another player.
Right.
Jason Robertson is one of those guys. He's just so unbelievably talented. He has such a great shot.
He's got
Dynamic.
great vision out there.
Yeah, I mean, they're just guys that, Ovi is obviously the best example of that.
Miro's been a
As not a player, you're
monster
saying,
out
hey,
on
man,
that blue line. Has he
who?
not?
Oh
Miro
yeah,
Heiskanen, he has been this dude. We talk about minute munchers with defensemen. This dude is having a minutes buffet out there.
Can I tell you like what? I don't want to say it drives me nuts, but it is absolutely crazy to me because Dallas isn't a small market,
No.
but Cale Makar is so unbelievable
Mm-hmm.
that we just don't pay really much attention to Miro Heiskanen because he was the pick before him.
Right.
Is Miro on Cale's level? No, he's not far off though. He's
No.
unbelievable. He's a top 5 defenseman in the National Hockey League. And the only reason we don't talk about him much as being one is because of Cale.
Well, part of that is Dallas.
but it's not a small
It's
market.
not a slight to Dallas because who's Miro been playing with 90% of the time this year? Ryan Suter.
Yes. But you circle back to this for a second. Is Colorado that much, more notable of a market than Dallas?
No.
I kind of rate them the same.
They're very similar in terms of
So like it all comes
attention
down
from
to
Western fans. They're very similar in attention, yes.
so I kind of rate them in the same sense because it's just like I really feel like the only reason that Miro doesn't get enough attention or credit is because of Kale.
Our old buddy Dutchy getting an OT winner in there.
Yeah.
Chris Tanev's made a decent impact.
We didn't talk about it. Dutchy overtime winner against the Avs.
Yeah.
Get here. How about that?
Wow. Thinking about the storyline there, right?
Yeah.
I know that was like a round prior, but like, oh boy.
Yeah. Good for Dutchy.
That's got to be really special for Matt.
That's another interested to see what his next contract looks like.
Yeah.
Can't imagine he's going to get another 1-year deal. I mean, that's.
And then obviously Edmonton, it's the McDavid and Dry show. Boosh has been in there.
With a little bit of Hyman in there.
Sprinkle some Hyman. Yeah, nice subtle taste in there. And
which is funny because there's nothing subtle about his game. His game is go within 5 feet of the net and score goals.
Go to the net and push Otter as best as you can, which is hard because Ottinger is 6'7" and a beast.
Yeah, a lot of people have been making fun of Zach Hyman just because, like, you look at all his goals and you look at how close they come to the net, and they're just like, "Oh man, he's like."
But that's the kind of player he is.
But like, my thing is like, I actually think that's more impressive. Like being able to score all those goals that close in.
Yeah.
Like those are more crowded areas. You're getting slashed like every 2 seconds. You got guys all over you. Like
you got cross checks right to your gut every 2 seconds.
Like that's a hard job because your job isn't to create space for yourself and create scoring opportunities. It's literally just to make the other team's life hell. And not only is he doing that, he's doing that while the other team is trying to make his life hell.
I know Knobloch called out the officials, and I don't want to get into an officiating discussion.
Yeah, it's just
because we do it every year.
Yeah.
But he made a good point this time around.
What do you say?
I feel like it might have been more towards round 2 with Vancouver, but when you have guys that are less notable going after your marquee guy, I know that's their job, but that's when, the officials need to be better and understand that, a penalty is a penalty is a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into it, but I gotta say, I respect how Knobloch has gone about it. He's obviously very calm. He's very smart with how he chooses his wording. So he's done a really good job of not getting fined.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Yeah. He's a good coach.
He is a good coach.
He surprised me a bit. I didn't know what to expect with him.
What about Stewart resurrecting? I know Pickard had a decent game, but Stewart, ever since they went back to him.
Yeah, I gotta say, it took I think it takes more balls to go back to Stewart than it did to go away from him in the first place. And it's worked out so far.
Knobloch needs a Manscaped sponsorship because he's got balls, baby. Yeah. And then in the East, well, I mean, this is just it's weird. Unstoppable force meets immovable object.
Yeah.
Because
oh my God.
the Igor and Bob show.
Here's the thing. I don't even think that Bob's been that great in this series.
No, but
he did have a shutout in game 1.
Dude.
Yeah. It's literally been the Panthers are just swarming the whole time.
Which is what they do.
Yeah.
That's what Paul Maurice does best.
Mhm.
And I mean, like, another big story with that is just, I mean, the overall, maybe we should call this one Ratitude.
Yeah.
Because I know we wanted to save that title for something. And this series is Ratitude.
Well, we have to make this somewhat. We have to make this.
We have to make it Waddell, yeah, related. But like, it's what it is. You got Matthew Kachuk, you got Nick Cousins, you got Sam Bennett, you got Jacob Trouba, you have, Barkley Goodrow can get into those mixes. Matt Rempe coming in and out of the lineup. Chris Kreider is, dude, I don't even see him as that kind of a player just because he's been that good everywhere.
It's funny. Like, we just got out of the Hyman conversation. Like, that's literally what Chris Kreider has done his whole career.
Yeah.
And he's been so good at it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you want to talk about underrated? Like, I don't know if I want to say necessarily underrated. I think just overshadowed
Yes.
by, how big of a star Igor is, Adam Fox, Artemi Panarin, the
How good is Brad
emergence
been
of
this-
Alexei Lafreniere, the controversy of Jacob Trouba, but
the
one
story that is the Rempire State Building.
yeah, but the one staple every single year is Chris Kreider.
Well, you could throw Mika in there.
Yeah, but definitely more than fair. But longer time. I mean, this guy has been around since 2012.
Right. 2011.
He's going to get his number retired by the Rangers.
Oh, yeah. 2020 will be in the rafters for Kreider before too long.
That's when you think about players you could never see in another jersey. Chris Kreider. You're never seeing him. He's a Ranger for life. And what a player he is.
Why couldn't they have just named him the captain?
I thought they were gonna.
That's what I thought too. Like
it. But here's the thing, and there's just no way of getting around this, Jake. At the end of the day, you have to name the captain whoever is, defined by Mark Messier as the best leader.
Yeah. You remember when Nick Foligno won that for us in 2017?
Yeah, and everyone was like, "This is wholesome. Nick Foligno's a king." And then a few years later, we had someone tarnishing the award.
The most prestigious award that we have out of all of our awards.
Hey.
The MMLA shall not be tarnished as an award.
Yeah.
And I will not stand for that. But yeah, the conference finals being all knotted up in both series just proves your point of like.
It's funny. I realized like the absurdity of the Messier Award is literally like, imagine if an award was given out every year, but it was just a Kepis keeper. That's literally what that fucking award is.
Is it?
If you think about it, it's one dude just making a pick.
I mean, to be fair, like, we're two dudes.
Yeah, but we don't pick the same player. That's the thing. We just pick one guy. The Mark Messier Award is literally just a Kepis keeper, if you think about it.
But hey, here's the important part. Is it sponsored by DraftKings?
It's not. So you can take that award and shove it up your ass.
Shove it up your ass, Mark. Along with your cup cookie. Oh boy.
The crown is not yours.
The crown is copyright THPN 2024.
Blue Hill Casino and Resorts.
In New York, problem gambling text 8.
We're just doing a double ad read. We're double
You're
DraftKings right now.
We're just happy they're back because like
I'm
Dylan
spoiled.
and Dylan and Kyle worked their asses off to be sure that we could do this again.
Yeah, thank God for that.
But that goes, that transitions into the last point to a certain degree, really, because obviously, what kinds of awards are handed out at the awards ceremony that's
Man.
around the draft, right?
So dumb, yeah.
We
Yeah.
get the Hart, we get the Lindsay, we get the Vesna. Um, the Calder's awarded at that point. A lot of the bigger awards
Yeah.
are handed out at the actual awards ceremony.
Yeah.
3 years ago, when we started this show, they made so much of a bigger deal about announcing the Messier, announcing the Lady Byng, announcing the Selke, and making it into these big presentations of like this player, or in terms of the Jack Adams or the Gregory Award, like this coach or executive did so many good things
And the
that
funny
they
thing is,
deserved plenty of recognition, right?
yeah, well, hey, you think about it when we talk about like 3 years ago, like in doing this podcast and going through all the playoffs and stuff like that, that first year, they made such a big deal of it that they had the ceremony happen during the Stanley Cup final.
Right.
If you like they wanted to make a big deal of it and make sure that they did it while hockey was on its biggest stage. And now it's just like you know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for Adrian Wojnarowski or Shams to just start tweeting it. Like I want them to start getting the scoops. Like imagine like you just scroll on Twitter and it's like 1 minute ago and it's just Shams and he's like Connor McDavid's won MVP. Like,
You just see like Richard Sherman tweet
like just give me like the most random people like who could possibly like break this
like
news.
not even involved in hockey.
Yes. Yes. I just
What
I can't say
happened?
like I'm too torn up about it because I don't watch the awards show. I just don't have the time these days.
But what happened?
I don't know. It just
The
it feels it's silly to me how
the
it's happening.
day that we are recording this on May 30th on a Thursday,
Mhm.
right? They announced that Jacob Slavin won his like second or third Lady Byng.
Yeah.
They announced it during a pre-game show. What? Like a pre-game panel. And they were just like, here's your Lady Byng winner. It's Jacob Slavin again. Didn't they announce Barkov winning the Selke like during a second intermission of like last round?
Yeah.
I feel like they announced friggin' Truba winning the Messier during a commercial break.
Just do it at the draft.
What happened?
That's how we're gonna fix this. Do it at the draft.
Well, didn't they did a whole they had the award ceremony last summer when they did them both in Nashville, right? They did them like a couple of days apart between the award ceremony and the draft.
See, I'm fucking around when I say this, but could you imagine how hilarious and like also how irritating and frustrating it would be? Like you wait for several minutes for your team to make a pick, and they go up on stage and they're like, first of all, I'd like to congratulate Jacob Trouba for winning the Mark Messier Award, and then they just do like a speech for like 15 minutes
Before
and then
announcing the
just
draft
and
pick.
now it's like now we're going to announce the draft pick that you guys will be disappointed
Oh my gosh.
in.
Oh boy.
Look.
I wonder if I have this bookmarked somewhere of like what went on with this kind of crap. Um I thought our buddy Mark Shag had something on that. On like one of his ballots.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm looking at a picture of friggin' Gritty and Victory Green from 2019 right now. I don't know. I was just trying to find something, but like apparently, some are voted by the writers and some are voted by like don't the coaches vote on one of the weird ones?
That's the other thing that drives me nuts about some of these awards. Like, this is voted on by the GMs. This is voted on by media. This is voted on by coach. And it's like, can't this just be a combo for
Didn't the
Christ's
GMs vote on like the Vesna or something?
Like, why can't it be like any player in the Players Association gets a vote if they'd like? Media members, et cetera, give them time and calculate it and do it at an award show.
I don't know, man.
It's just
I don't know. It's like we went from like they used to make such a big deal out of the smaller awards
yeah.
to just kind of tossing them aside.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
Look, here's the thing. Like, I'm not saying that I think it's stupid, because at the end of the day, some of the smaller awards that people maybe don't care as much about, they don't want to spend several minutes waiting on the big awards at an award show. So if you want to know that ahead of time, I guess that's fine. There's just a better way to do it, though.
Don't just shove them in the middle of some random playoff game intermission or like,
yeah,
just announce it on Twitter during a commercial break.
Yeah.
Have Kevin Weeks take one of his like random location pictures just for.
I like my draft idea because it makes bad picks so much more infuriating.
Dude, you know what you could do?
Imagine you're sitting there for 15 minutes. You're a Canadiens fan. The winner of the Vezina Trophy is, and then 15 minutes later, we select Logan Mailloux.
Oh, I feel like if anything, if you want to do it at the draft, you do it on like day 2.
Yeah, day 3, like when nobody's
day 3.
Make sure nobody watches the awards.
I don't know. It's weird to me, and I'm just happy that we're rolling along and a new era is here in Columbus, and the playoffs are fun again.
Could you say it's the dawn of a new era?
It is the dawn of a new era.
Yeah, that makes me happy.
Welcome to the Waddfather era, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you when we see you, and subscribe for more. Do the DraftKings things, like the video, follow the pages, follow HockeyPodNet, because we're officially, the branding is back, baby. And we got more coming.
Yeah. Those are some nice kneecaps you got there. If you want to keep them, subscribe.
They speak English in what?
Alrighty.
Bye, everybody. We love you.
Jake Jackets, a podcast for fifth liners and all puckheads around. Follow the guys on Twitter at Snake Gehringer, GARRINGER, and at By J Ashdown. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. March on.